Ladies, let me tell you something right now. You've got to stop letting a man rent space in your mind when he hasn't even paid the deposit. If he's on your mind without ever picking up that phone, without sending you a text, without making the effort to know what you had for lunch yesterday, we need to talk. See, love, affection, and connection are two-way streets, not one-way highways where you're stuck in traffic while he's cruising somewhere else. Your mind is one of the most powerful and valuable assets you will ever own. It shapes the way you see the world, how you feel, and ultimately how you live. It's not just a space for random thoughts to drift in and out. It's your control center, the place where ideas are born, decisions are made, and your sense of self-worth is cultivated. When you allow someone to occupy that space without contributing positively to your life, you're giving away something priceless for free. Imagine your mind as a high-rise luxury penthouse in the heart of the city. It's beautifully furnished with your dreams, decorated with your goals, and filled with the warmth of your peace. Now picture letting someone move in without paying a cent, without even bringing furniture, food, or care. They just sit there, enjoying the view while you foot the bill. That's exactly what happens when you keep thinking about someone who isn't giving you anything back. No attention, no effort, no respect. We sometimes romanticize people based on their potential instead of their reality. Maybe you've built this picture in your mind of who they could be, how wonderful it would feel if they actually stepped up, or how perfect they might be if they just tried. That's the dangerous part, because you start feeding that mental image with your energy, time, and emotion. This person becomes larger than life in your thoughts, but in reality, they haven't done anything to earn that place. And every minute you spend thinking about them is a minute you could be using to work on yourself, pursue your dreams, or connect with people who actually value you. Your mental space is too precious to be cluttered with someone's absence. You need to protect it like a landlord who only rents to tenants who care for the property. In this case, the rent is their effort, consistency, and respect. If they're not paying that rent, they don't get the keys. If you wouldn't let a stranger walk into your home and take over your living room without contributing anything, why let someone live in your head like that? Here's where it gets even more serious. Your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. If you fill your mind with someone who makes no effort to be in your life, you'll find yourself feeling anxious, overanalyzing, and second-guessing your worth. That can lead to decisions you regret, like reaching out when you shouldn't, lowering your standards, or putting your life on pause while waiting for them to finally notice you. When your mind is tied up with someone who's not adding value, you rob yourself of mental clarity, creativity, and the joy of being present in your own life. The truth is, you have full control over who gets to stay in your thoughts. It's not always easy. Sometimes the mind wants to wander back to familiar places, especially if those thoughts are tied to emotions like love, longing, or nostalgia. But you have the power to redirect that focus. You can choose to fill your mind with people and ideas that uplift you, inspire you, and push you forward. Let me give you a short, clear example. Imagine you have a beautiful garden full of flowers you've been nurturing for years. You water them, you protect them from weeds, and you make sure they get enough sunlight. Now imagine a stranger comes along, doesn't plant a single seed, doesn't water anything, but starts sitting in your garden every day, trampling the flowers and blocking the sunlight. You wouldn't let them stay, would you? Of course not. You'd kindly but firmly ask them to leave so your garden could thrive. Your mind is that garden. You have to be just as protective of it, because letting the wrong person take up space will stunt your growth and ruin what you've worked so hard to build. When you guard your mind like valuable real estate, you're setting a standard, not just for how others treat you, but for how you treat yourself. You're saying, if you want to be here, you have to add value. You have to bring something real. That shift in mindset not only frees you from obsessing over someone who isn't showing up, but it also makes room for people who truly deserve a place in your life. Your peace, your dreams, your goals, they are far too valuable to share with someone who hasn't earned the right to be there. So protect your mental space. Fill it with things that matter. And never, Ever let anyone move into your penthouse if they're not ready to respect it and contribute to it? Where you place your attention determines where your energy flows, and where your energy flows shapes your life. This is why constantly thinking about someone who doesn't communicate with you can be so draining. Every thought you have requires energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and even physical energy over time. When you keep focusing on someone absent, you're feeding life into something that isn't actually there in a real, tangible way. It's like pouring water into a plant pot with no seed inside. You're putting in effort, but nothing will grow. Instead of that energy fueling your growth, it's being lost in a place that can't give you anything back. The mind has a powerful way of building stories. When you focus on someone who's silent, you start to imagine scenarios about why they're not speaking, what they might be thinking, or how they might feel about you. Then you take it further. You create entire imaginary conversations, reliving moments you've had with them, or even inventing new ones that never happened. Your brain doesn't fully separate reality from imagination in those moments, so your feelings can become just as strong as if those things were real. That's the danger. You can end up falling in love with the idea of a person, not the actual person in front of you. And an idea will never show up, never call, never text. It's just an image your own mind has built. Energy is not infinite. Every bit of focus you give to one thing takes it away from something else. When you're consumed by thoughts of someone who is not actively part of your life, you have less energy to give to the things and people who actually are. You might find yourself distracted at work, emotionally unavailable to friends and family, or too drained to invest in your own goals. Over time, that imbalance can lower your confidence, slow your progress, and keep you stuck in a loop of what-ifs instead of moving toward what's next. The human heart often confuses attention with affection. If you think about someone long enough, your feelings can deepen, even without any new interaction. This is why you have to be so intentional about where your mind goes. Just because someone pops into your head doesn't mean you have to let them stay there. Every time you catch yourself imagining them, you have an opportunity to redirect your focus to something that nourishes you instead of depletes you. Here's an example to make this clear. Imagine you have a smartphone with a battery that drains quickly. You notice that a background app you never use is taking up most of your battery power. It's not helping you. You're not interacting with it, and it's not giving you anything in return. Yet it's quietly pulling energy away from everything else you want to do. Thinking about someone who isn't talking to you is like that background app. You may not notice the drain at first, but over time, it leaves you too depleted to focus on the things that matter. The solution: you close that app and free up the energy for what's truly important. Your goals, your passions, and people who reciprocate your efforts. Redirecting your attention doesn't mean you have to pretend the person never existed or that your feelings don't matter. It means you choose to take back control over where your energy is going. You might start by engaging more deeply in your hobbies, setting new personal challenges, or surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. The more you do this, the more your mind becomes occupied with things that fill you up instead of emptying you out. Over time, the mental image of the person you are fixated on begins to fade because you've stopped feeding it your energy. Life becomes richer when your attention is on what's real, reciprocal, and life-giving. When you keep your focus on people and goals that actively engage with you, your energy multiplies instead of diminishes. You feel lighter, more confident, and more in control. The shift is simple. Stop pouring into what doesn't pour back into you. Direct your attention to where it can grow into something beautiful and meaningful. Energy flows where attention goes, so make sure it's going somewhere worth the investment. When someone's actions don't match their words, or in this case, when there are no actions at all, it tells you more than any sweet promise ever could. Words are easy, they cost nothing and require little effort. A person can say they care, say they miss you, or even say they're interested. But if there's no action behind it, those words are hollow. Human behavior has a simple truth. When people genuinely want something, they move toward it. They rearrange their schedule, they make time, and they follow through. Interest isn't hidden. It shows up in consistent, tangible ways. If someone is truly invested in you, you won't have to go searching for signs. They will be right there in how they treat you. When a man is silent, absent, and distant for no real reason, it's tempting to create explanations for him. Maybe he's shy, maybe he's stressed, maybe he's just bad at texting. But the truth is, when you are someone's priority, they will find a way to connect, no matter their personality type or circumstances. It's not about being a perfect communicator. It's about effort. If you mean enough to someone, they will overcome shyness. They will carve out time even in a busy schedule, and they will make sure you feel valued. The absence of action isn't an accident. It's a choice. Accepting this can be uncomfortable because it means letting go of the idea we might have built about someone's potential. It's much easier to believe in the what if than to face the what is. But ignoring the truth only keeps you stuck, waiting for something that may never happen. The sooner you accept that lack of action speaks louder than any excuse, the sooner you free yourself from disappointment and open the door to relationships where effort flows naturally. Actions are the purest form of communication because they require energy and intention. Anyone can say, "I'll call you," or "I want to see you," but it takes genuine desire to actually pick up the phone or show up at your door. And consistency matters just as much as the act itself. A one-time gesture can be nice, but if it's followed by weeks of silence, it loses its weight. True interest sustains effort over time. It doesn't appear once and vanish. Here's an example to make it clear. Imagine two people are both interested in buying the same house. One person talks about how much they love the house, how perfect it would be, and how they can see themselves living there. But they never call the realtor, never tour the property, and never make an offer. The other person doesn't talk much about it at all. They just take action. They schedule a viewing, put down a deposit, and start moving their furniture in. Now, which person actually gets the house? The one who took action. The first person might have had all the feelings in the world, but without action, those feelings mean nothing to the outcome. Relationships are the same. You can't secure a connection with feelings alone. It takes consistent action to build something real. The mistake many people make is thinking that absence of action can be filled with imagination. You replay memories, analyze past words, and search for clues in small gestures. But that's like reading an old menu. When the restaurant has already closed, you're looking at something that no longer has the ability to serve you. If someone wants to be in your life, they will be. If they're not showing up, they're showing you their priorities. That doesn't mean you're not worthy of someone's time or attention. It means this person isn't capable or willing to give it to you right now. And that's valuable information. Instead of taking it personally, see it as clarity. Their inaction saves you from investing more into a dead end. You can redirect your time and heart toward people who not only speak interest but prove it through effort. Ultimately, lack of action is not a mystery, it's an answer. It tells you that you are not high on their list, and no amount of waiting, wishing, or wondering will change that. You deserve someone who not only says they want you in their life, but shows it through consistent presence, thoughtful gestures, and genuine effort. When someone truly cares, you'll never have to decode their feelings. They'll make them clear through what they do, not just what they say. The way you see yourself determines the kind of treatment you accept from others. Self-worth is like an internal measuring stick. It sets the boundaries for how much effort, respect, and love you believe you deserve. When you undervalue yourself, you unintentionally lower that measuring stick, making it easier for people to give you less than you need and still stay in your life. This is why allowing someone to occupy your mind and heart without actually showing up in your reality sends a silent message to yourself. I am okay with crumbs. And when you convince yourself that crumbs are enough, you start starving your own emotional needs. You were not created to survive on minimal effort from anyone. You were made to thrive in relationships where love is mutual, energy is shared, and effort is visible. The problem is, when you let someone live rent free in your thoughts, you start building a false sense of connection with them. They may not be calling, texting, or showing up for you, yet in your mind, they still have a front row seat in your life. That kind of mental space is valuable, and the fact that they occupy it without contributing says less about them and more about what you've allowed. Self-worth doesn't just show up one day, it's something you practice. It grows every time you choose yourself over situations that diminish you. It gets stronger each time you decide that your peace, time, and heart are too precious to give away to people who won't treat them well. When you know your value, you stop accepting half-hearted gestures and start holding out for the real thing. You stop thinking, at least he's on my mind, and start asking, but is he making me feel valued in real life? When your self-worth is high, you operate from a place of abundance, not scarcity. You don't cling to the little attention someone gives you because you know there's more love, more care, and more connection out there for you. You believe that you deserve the full cake, the bakery, and the delivery service, not just a crumb someone tossed your way when it was convenient for them. That mindset shift changes everything because people quickly sense your standards. Those who aren't willing to meet them either step up or step out, and that's exactly how it should be. Here's a simple but powerful example. Imagine you're at a fancy restaurant, and the waiter brings you a single piece of bread when you ordered a full meal. If you accept the bread and say, "That's fine, I'm okay with this," then you'll go hungry, and the waiter will assume you're satisfied with less. But if you say, "Excuse me, this isn't what I ordered. I'll wait for the full meal I know I deserve," you send a clear message about your expectations. It's not about being demanding. It's about honoring your own value. The same principle applies to relationships. If you accept the bare minimum, that's all you'll ever get. The most dangerous thing about low self-worth is that it normalizes poor treatment. You start rationalizing someone's absence, making excuses for why they can't show up, and convincing yourself that even small gestures mean a lot. But when you truly value yourself, you stop making excuses for why someone isn't giving more. Instead, you start recognizing that the right person will never make you beg for consistency. They'll give it freely because they want to, not because you demanded it. Self-worth also acts as a filter for the kind of people who enter your life. If you have strong boundaries and a healthy sense of value, you naturally attract those who respect and appreciate you. You repel people who are only looking to take advantage because they realize quickly that you won't tolerate anything less than what you deserve. That's not arrogance. It's self-respect. Raising your standard doesn't mean you become closed off or impossible to please. It simply means you no longer settle for situations that make you feel small, invisible, or unimportant. It means that your heart only beats faster for someone who's willing to show up consistently, not just in your imagination. You align your thoughts, your time, and your emotions with people and opportunities that match your worth, and that alignment becomes a form of self-love in action. When you understand your value, you stop chasing what doesn't chase you back. You stop holding a place in your mind for people who wouldn't hold one for you. Instead, you focus your energy on those who make the effort, speak with intention, and follow through with action. Your self-worth becomes the silent contract that governs every connection you have, and it ensures you'll never again settle for crumbs when you deserve the whole feast. Silence is not always empty. It's often full of meaning. In relationships, especially in the early stages or during uncertain times, silence can be one of the clearest answers you'll ever receive. If someone is not reaching out, not making time, and not initiating conversation, it's not usually because they forgot or because they're waiting for the perfect moment. More often than not, it's because their level of interest, effort, or emotional investment simply does not match yours. The mistake many people make is trying to read between the lines, analyze every gap in communication, and fill the silence with their own hopeful interpretations. But silence is a form of communication in itself. It's just not the one we want to hear. When someone truly wants to be in your life, you won't have to guess. You won't have to keep asking yourself why they haven't called or whether they're thinking about you. They will show you through action, words, and consistent presence. Silence, in contrast, is often a gentle but firm way of telling you, "I'm not as invested in this as you are." It's not always intentional or cruel. It's simply a reflection of their priorities, their capacity, or their desire. Accepting this reality can feel uncomfortable, but it is also incredibly freeing because it allows you to stop chasing what is not chasing you. The danger in ignoring silence is that it can trap you in a cycle of waiting. You tell yourself, maybe tomorrow he'll reach out, or he's probably just busy. While it's true that life gets hectic, consistent silence over time is rarely about being busy. It's about where someone chooses to place their energy. If you're always the one initiating contact, carrying the conversations, and making the effort, then the silence on their part is a clear indicator that the relationship is one-sided. Respecting silence means taking it at face value. Instead of trying to decode it or make excuses for it, you simply accept it as information. This doesn't mean you stop caring about the person, but it does mean you stop pouring energy into a connection that isn't being reciprocated. When you do this, you not only protect your self-esteem, but also create space for people who will value you enough to break that silence without hesitation. Here's a short but powerful example. Imagine you send a friend an invitation to an important event in your life. Let's say it's your birthday dinner. You wait for their response, but days go by and they say nothing. You follow up and still nothing. Now, you could spend hours wondering why they haven't responded. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see the message. Maybe they're going through something. All of that might be true, but the fact remains, they didn't make the time to acknowledge your invitation. Their silence is the answer. You don't need to hunt for hidden clues. You need to accept that if it mattered to them, they would have replied. Silence also speaks in the emotional sense. Sometimes, when someone pulls away and stops communicating, it's their way of avoiding a conversation they don't want to have. Maybe they've lost interest. Maybe they've made a decision to move on, or maybe they're simply not ready to invest emotionally. Whatever the reason, that lack of communication is already the message. They are not choosing you in the way you may be choosing them. The beauty of learning to listen to silence is that it strengthens your boundaries. It teaches you not to overstay in places where you are not being welcomed or pursued. It encourages you to shift your energy toward people who don't just respond, but initiate. People who don't just notice your presence when you speak up, but actively seek you out because they value you. Silence doesn't have to be a painful rejection. It can be a gift of clarity. It saves you from wasting months or years hoping someone will become who you need them to be. It gives you the freedom to walk away from uncertainty and toward relationships where you never have to question your importance. When you stop fearing silence and start respecting it, you take control of your own emotional well-being. The truth is, the right person will not leave you wondering. They will not let silence stretch on without explanation. They will fill the space with communication, affection, and effort. Until then, when you hear nothing, understand it's not an invitation to keep trying. It's a sign to move forward. Silence has meaning, and if you're brave enough to listen to it, you'll save yourself from heartache and open yourself to something far better. When you find yourself constantly thinking about someone who isn't making any effort to be part of your life, you're pouring valuable time and energy into a place where nothing is growing. That focus can become all-consuming. Your thoughts keep circling back to them, you replay old moments, and you imagine new ones that may never happen. The more you do this, the more you emotionally invest in something that is not giving anything back. That's why one of the most powerful decisions you can make is to redirect your focus from them to yourself. Instead of spending hours analyzing their silence or wondering what you could do to make them notice you, you take that same energy and use it to build a life so fulfilling that you no longer have the mental space to dwell on what's missing. When you shift your attention inward, you take back control of your emotional state. You stop letting someone else's absence dictate your mood and start creating your own sources of joy. This doesn't mean you immediately stop thinking about them. Feelings don't vanish overnight, but it does mean you make a conscious choice not to give those thoughts the center stage. Every time they pop into your head, you have an opportunity to redirect that moment towards something productive, inspiring, or nurturing. Working on your goals is a powerful place to start, There's something deeply satisfying about pouring yourself into personal progress, whether it's advancing your career, learning a new skill, starting a creative project, or tackling something you've always wanted to do but kept putting off. Goals give you forward momentum, and momentum has a way of pulling you out of emotional stagnation. When you're working towards something meaningful, you naturally have less time and mental energy to dwell on someone else's lack of effort. Focusing on your health, physical, mental, and emotional, can also be life-changing. Exercise, eating well, meditating, journaling, or even getting outside for fresh air can shift your energy in powerful ways. Not only does it make you feel better physically, but it also boosts your confidence and self-esteem. The better you feel about yourself, the less likely you are to tolerate being sidelined by someone who doesn't see your worth. Redirecting your focus to yourself also means filling your life with things and people that make you happy. Spend time with friends who make you laugh, explore hobbies that light you up, and say yes to new experiences that challenge and excite you. The more you surround yourself with positive energy, the less room you have for thoughts that drag you down. Over time, this becomes a cycle. You pour energy into things that uplift you, which in turn make you feel stronger and more independent, which makes it even easier to stop obsessing over someone who isn't showing up. Here's a short example to illustrate this. Imagine you're holding a small watering can with just enough water to nourish one plant. There's a beautiful plant in front of you that you've been trying to water for weeks, but it hasn't grown, hasn't bloomed, and shows no sign of life. Right beside it, there's another plant, vibrant, colorful, and growing rapidly. But you've been ignoring it because you're so fixated on the one that isn't thriving. If you keep pouring your water into the lifeless plant, you're wasting your resources. But the moment you turn to the plant that's already alive, your effort is rewarded with beauty and growth. In this metaphor, you are the vibrant plant, and the water is your attention and energy. When you redirect your focus to yourself, you start flourishing. This shift doesn't just heal you, it transforms you. You begin to realize that your happiness was never supposed to be dependent on whether or not someone else showed up. You see that the life you create for yourself is what truly matters, and that people who want to be part of it will make the effort to fit in. Those who don't, they fade into the background, not because you forced them out, but because you stopped giving them space at the front of your mind. The truth is, focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. It's acknowledging that your energy is limited and deserves to be invested in people and projects that give back to you. The more you build yourself up, the more magnetic you become, and ironically, this often attracts people who value your energy because they see you valuing it yourself. But whether or not someone comes back into your life becomes far less important than the fact that you are now living a life you love. When someone is truly right for you, there's no mystery about how they feel. You don't spend your nights analyzing every word they've said, replaying every interaction to search for hidden meaning, or wondering why they haven't reached out in days. The right person makes their intentions clear through both their words and their actions. They show up consistently, they communicate openly, and they make you feel secure in their presence. Love, when it's real and healthy, doesn't leave you confused. It gives you peace of mind. A lot of people mistake uncertainty for excitement. They think that the butterflies and the constant, will they call? Or, do they like me? Feelings are signs of romance. In reality, those feelings are signs of instability. The right relationship feels exciting, yes, but it also feels steady. It gives you room to breathe because you're not on edge waiting for validation. You don't have to send 3 texts and hope for 1 reply. You don't have to justify why they've gone silent for days. Instead, you wake up to good morning. You go to bed knowing you're on their mind, and in between, they make time to connect because they want to, not because you begged for it. Consistency is one of the strongest indicators that someone is right for you. Anyone can be charming in the beginning, sending flowers, making sweet comments, and giving you all their attention for a week. But the right person doesn't just make a strong start. They keep showing up even when life gets busy or the honeymoon phase fades. They don't disappear when things get hard or when they're stressed. In fact, those are the times they draw closer because their bond with you matters to them. The right one also communicates in a way that leaves no room for doubt. They tell you they care, but more importantly, they prove it. If they say they'll call, they do. If they say they'll be there, they show up. They're not perfect. No one is, but their pattern of behavior is one of reliability, not excuses. This reliability creates trust, and trust is the foundation of every strong relationship. Without it, you're left second, guessing everything, and that constant guessing game is emotionally exhausting. When you're with the right person, you also feel valued without having to earn it. You don't have to put on a performance, compete for their attention, or constantly remind them you exist. They notice you because they're invested in you. They care about how your day went. They ask about your dreams, and they celebrate your wins with genuine joy. They want to be part of your life in a real present way, not just when it's convenient for them. Here's a simple example to illustrate the point. Imagine you order a package online. With the wrong seller, you might get vague shipping updates, inconsistent communication, and uncertainty about whether the item will even arrive. You keep checking the tracking number, wondering if it's lost. With the right seller, you get clear notifications, timely updates, and the package arrives exactly when promised. You never have to question if it's coming, because they've proven through their actions that they deliver. In relationships, the right person is like that reliable seller. They remove the guesswork. You know where you stand with them, because they've made it clear through consistent effort. Too often, people get stuck in situations where they're left wondering. They cling to sporadic gestures, an occasional text, a rare compliment, and convince themselves that it's enough. But deep down, they know they're starving for more. The truth is, when someone is truly interested, you don't have to beg for their time or attention. You are a priority to them, and they make sure you feel it. Being with someone who leaves you wondering chips away at your self-esteem. You start questioning your worth, asking what you did wrong, or wondering what you could do differently to get more of their attention. But the problem isn't you. It's that they're not the right fit. The right one will make you feel confident in their care for you, not insecure about it. When you finally experience a relationship where you're not left guessing, you realize how much energy you wasted before. You see the difference between someone who is half in and someone who is fully invested. The right one won't make you chase, decode, or wait endlessly for proof of their feelings. They will show you every day, in big ways and small, that you matter. And that's when you'll understand that love isn't supposed to keep you wondering. It's supposed to keep you sure. Think of it like a radio station. You can't hear music if the station isn't broadcasting. If you're sitting there waiting to hear a song from a station that's been off air for weeks, you're wasting your time. Change the station, tune into something that plays the music you love and makes you feel alive. Ladies, you are not here to chase silence. You are not here to wonder why you're on his mind but not in his life. You are here to live boldly, to love openly, and to receive the same energy you give. If he's always on your mind without talking to you, take that as a clear sign. Stop giving him your mental rent money and invest in yourself. Because the right man won't just be on your mind. He'll be in your life, building something real with you.